We're in a very hot, steamy part of Texas tonight. I'm really just, earlier today, I swear my eyelids were sweating. I mean, that's like... Oh.
That's normal.
Oh, it's normal. I cannot. I'm so looking forward to moving back to Alaska, I gotta say. But it's nice being here at the moment. This city is so diverse, and I'm just really enjoying like driving around and checking everything out. And I love the dog parks here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm here with a couple of guests, and they are going to introduce themselves in whatever way that they want. Yeah.
Hi y'all. I'm Mo Cortez. I'm an intersex and trans man here in Houston, Texas, and there's my partner Jet.
My name is Guadalupe. My pronouns are he, him, and I am non-binary, transgender, transmasculine person.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I actually use all pronouns, but I prefer he, him the most. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot my pronouns. My pronouns are he, him, they, them, and I'm non-binary sometimes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, how long have you, I guess, been who you are? Like, usually, people have kind of a trajectory that they follow in their lives. Like, they'll think about, they'll have some feelings when they're younger of being a little bit different and that sort of thing, and they might have kind of a coming out process or a process that is internal. Did you guys go through anything like that? And it's okay if I say guys, by the way?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Some people don't like that because it can be construed as sexist language. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Right.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I'll... Do you want to go first since you introduced yourself first?
You go.
Okay. Yeah, I knew something was off.
Or different.
Or
maybe.
different.
Yeah.
Pretty early on. I would constantly change my name. And constantly change my name, but also dress tomboyish.
Uh-huh.
And people would sometimes use he, him.
Oh,
pronouns,
really?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so...
Did you have, like, short hair or something when you were
No, I didn't.
Oh.
I had long hair, actually, but sometimes when I had it in a, what is it called? A fucking...
Ponytail?
No, a French braid.
Oh.
Yeah, like a French braid. It would be
Oh.
all back, you know
Sure,
what
sure.
I'm saying?
Was
And
it those
kinda
kind
would
with the ones on top and then it comes
No,
back?
yeah.
Yeah.
But it just looked indigenous. And so I guess, I don't know, people thought I was a little boy.
Oh, okay.
But
Uh-huh.
anyway, yeah, and then I mean, I grew up here in the Bible Belt, and so
Did you grow up here in Texas or okay.
Yeah, in Texas. I was born in Odessa, grew up in Houston since I was 2 years old.
Uh-huh. Is Odessa is that up in the Panhandle?
I don't know where that is.
It's in Midwest Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What? Yeah,
It's-
West Texas.
yeah.
Yeah, Midwest. Yeah.
Like cattle country.
I don't know if they have
Oil derricks.
Oil.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oil.
I'm like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they have all the windmills out there. And
Okay. All right.
stuff. I don't know why I did that. Sorry.
It's fine.
The blades.
Yeah, the blades. Yeah, I don't remember where I was going with that. Oh yeah, just now I've been in Houston and background basically raised Baptist-ish throughout, and so I kind of always...
Was it a heavy religious background or not?
No,
More secular.
more secular than
Okay.
anything.
Okay.
Early on it was pretty heavy, but once we moved a lot, and so it kind of, I chose to go to church.
Oh,
It was
okay.
just like my safe place. But I also, it's okay if the dog does that.
Oh my goodness.
And also,
My dog is getting very comfortable in the house.
Yeah. Get comfy.
but we also, yeah, we moved around a lot, and
Around Texas?
No, around Houston.
Oh, around Houston.
Yeah, just
Okay.
around Houston, like
Yeah.
Third
Well,
Ward.
Houston is a vast city.
Yeah.
I mean, it is big.
Yeah, Third Ward, South Houston, Pasadena, Deer Park, LaPorte, Conroe, Montgomery, Columbus. Yeah, that's about it though. Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't know that I was gay or like queer in high school, I just always hung out with everybody. And when people would ask me, who do I like or who do I want to date or who do I love, I'd say I loved everyone because Jesus loved everyone.
Okay, great.
That was always my answer.
Great.
And yes, I am pansexual.
Yeah.
So it just happens to be that way.
Was that like your follow-up thing that you would say? Jesus loves everyone and I'm pansexual? Or?
Well, now, yes.
Okay.
As a 33-year-old, yes.
Okay.
Now that is my response.
Jesus year, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I'm also in my Jesus year.
Okay.
That's when he died.
Right.
R.I.P. Anyway. I don't think I did that right. Sorry. Anyways.
Okay.
I didn't know.
You blasphemer.
I know, right? I didn't know that I was gay in high school,
Okay.
and but everybody else around me did. And I went to Bible college as soon as as soon as I graduated high school. I went to Bible college, and then I was just like celibate, and then I was not celibate, and then I left the Bible college, and then, I didn't even explore my sexuality until maybe 2 years after I had left. And by that point, I had met my ex-husband. And it was like, it was a mess. It was a mess. And during my whole marriage and stuff, I came out. I was like, okay, hey, I'm bisexual. And then I was like, actually, I didn't know this was a thing. I'm actually pansexual, and it didn't really like click for me.
What kind of years was that?
So that was like 25, 26 years old, and then it wasn't until my pregnancy is when I started to really question my gender.
Okay.
And then as soon as I had my son, it hit me hard that I needed to really figure myself out.
Why is that?
Because I was in charge of another human being, and I couldn't take care of myself and another human if I didn't know who I was.
Sure.
Like,
wow.
my identity could not be wrapped around being a mother and a wife.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't do it.
Wow.
That was just, it was just, I just couldn't do it. And
so you were kind of very gendered through that process.
Yeah.
Okay. And it was uncomfortable.
It was so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then just being pregnant in general is a terrible and traumatic experience. And people will not tell you that. They will not tell you that because for whatever reason, I don't know why they don't tell you that, but they don't tell you that, and it's a real thing. Don't get pregnant unless you really, really want it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And we also live in Texas, so you can't get an abortion here. But if you need information, contact us, and we can help you.
There you go. There you go.
Yes, we know people. And can help you. And
All
so,
right.
Anyway, that's just...
I like your revolutionary spirit there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. If you need to know, you can know.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so now I have my son. He is 6 years old, almost 7, and he has transitioned with me over the years.
Great.
I started my transition mentally in 2017, and then physically I started to transition in 2018.
So that's pretty new.
Yeah. I consider myself a baby trans.
Yeah, right.
And so but and then I started T in 2019. Right now I'm taking a break because of finances and politics.
Okay.
Yeah.
A break from what?
From testosterone, sorry.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's funny because people will still be like, wow, the T's really working on you.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like,
well, you have like a deeply resonant voice.
Yeah, I practice.
Yeah. I do not.
No, I practice. And so that's why people are always like, wow, the T's really working for you. And I'm like, yeah thanks.
Yeah.
I just am practicing all the time.
Yeah.
And I like to make fun of myself sometimes.
Can you talk in more detail about why, I mean, if it's comfortable for you, why you went off testosterone because of politics?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because, I mean, that's really intense.
So, yeah, there's one, we're in Texas. Two, whenever I was receiving testosterone, I would have to travel like an hour to pick it up.
Okay.
Because I lived in Pasadena, and I would have to go to the Montrose Legacy Clinic.
And that's in the Montrose neighborhood.
Yeah, the Montrose neighborhood.
Which is historically like a gay neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The gayborhood.
Yeah.
And so, one, it was costing me gas. It was costing me extra money to go there. And then...
and coming into a city like that is stressful.
Yeah, and like once a month having to do that, it was getting stressful, but...
Right.
Yeah.
You got the little tiny vials.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then all the blood work that came with it, all of the appointments...
You know, if you go through a compounding pharmacy, you can get a big bottle. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Um,
That's for you, too.
and, thank you for that.
Yes.
And I'm trying to think. Yeah, all the doctor's appointments, and then just realizing how much over time it's going to cost. I realized I could do so much more, like practicing my voice and wearing more transmasculine clothing.
And you're more of a non-binary person as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume that for you, there's not like an end point like there maybe is for me. You know, I really wanted to look very masculine and have lots of hair, etc. So what were you taking the testosterone for, I guess, for your identity as a non-binary person?
Yeah, I wanted more masculine features, like more boxy on my face and more hair. But the hair thing never really happened. I had like a baby mustache.
Okay, just like a little.
Just a little something.
Yeah. Well, I bet it would be really. You have very dark hair, so it would show up really.
And
good.
my hair was very thick, like thicker than it is right now. I also worked out a lot. When I was on, I had so much energy.
Yes.
And so I could keep up with my son.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, bro, you got me for 15 minutes running around, and then I'm out.
Yeah.
We can play a board game.
Yeah.
Or Nerf guns. That's fine.
So do you think that testosterone is something that you might go on and off in your life?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I also want to say, like, you know, I have a real fear that this might sound crazy, but like the government is like tracking. I know Abbott's like doing all of this tracking, trying to get our information.
He is.
And like changing your name, changing your gender marker. Like he's tracking all that shit, and it's scary.
And what you do for a living, and
exactly,
all that stuff.
And I'm just like, I am scared that some way, somehow, like they're gonna come for us. And I know like that sounds crazy, but that's our reality right now.
I know. Just even thinking about that, I'm like, oh, that just seems crazy. Am I just, over stressing or hypersensitive or something? But when you start being put on lists and every part of your life is starting to be controlled by the government in this weird way and your rights are being taken away, I don't think that's a crazy thought.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't know. So, how about you?
I would transition. For this one, I'm intersex and trans. For this one, I have to go back, I guess, to the beginning. So.
Okay, yeah, please do.
So when I was born with the hole in my heart, but also with parts undefined. Like they couldn't tell what sex I was.
Okay.
And at that time, they wanted to perform a surgery, but they ran some test on my body and then checked out my heart, and it was too weak to have any kind of like major significant surgery. So at 18 months, they did an open heart surgery and told my mom to raise me as female. And then at age 5, someone turned my mother into the CPS, stating that she was raising a little boy as a girl. And at that time, they did these forced intersex surgeries.
Yeah.
To make my body look normalized, like phenotypically female, whatever that's supposed to mean. and the science thing.
Did you know that they were doing this to you? Were you of that age?
I was 5 years old, so
Okay.
I didn't remember much, but I do remember, waking up in a hospital bed, lifting a sheet, and seeing like a giant red X on my groin. 5 years old, and smelling rust in the air.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the rust would be blood.
Blood.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
That's the reality of and these surgeries are still happening here.
Yeah.
I mean, all over this nation.
Right, and it's largely non-consensual.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. But I pretty much I was raised in a conservative Mexican single parent Mormon household, and
Oh, Mormon.
yeah,
Really?
yeah. So I couldn't I couldn't
is
have
Mormonism popular among Mexican people or Mexican American people?
I don't know. I really don't know. There weren't many in my town, at least in
There's a lot in Pasadena.
and San Angelo, but no, I was raised Mormon, but I renounced it when I was 18. So
Do they ever come after you, like, come on back,
I think they did send me a dissociation letter, like, we found out you're trans, get out of our.
Okay.
I'm like, good. I don't want to be on your
Well,
numbers
that's,
anyway.
that's very clear. Yeah, a lot of times I know people who were gay and then left, and then missionaries will come knocking on their door, come on back, kind of thing, and they're like, no, I'm a bull dagger, or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
A bull dagger.
Well, I'm thinking
What
of
is that
something.
even? I don't even know what that is. Yeah.
I'm thinking of something. A dyke.
Oh, okay. I was like,
It's like
what?
an old term for a dyke.
I wasn't thinking that, but okay.
Yeah. It's in fact, somebody who's rather famous. I was saying this to me, but anyway, they have a Mormon background, and whatever. So please go on. You were talking. Yeah.
So so I was raised in a Mormon church and things like that, and I told one of my church friends, like, hey, I'm queer, and like, what do you think is gonna happen to me? And he was like, you're gonna burn in hell. I'm like, oh well, okay, all right.
Was this like at church or?
This is at church, in front of the commissary or whatever the kitchen's called. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, but
More of that should happen.
Yeah.
And make them uncomfortable.
very much so, and then but then by the age of 18, I'd see my records that said intersex, and I didn't know what that was, and
You saw your medical records.
I
and
saw
it
my
said
medical
that.
records,
Wow.
and I closed
That's
it.
unusual.
It said male pseudo-hermaphrodite, so that just psyched me out, and I slammed the book shut for 18. Then I opened up my medical records again at age 30, and that's when I started to be in the transition, and it was really night and day, just like
So
everything felt right.
You basically grew up female,
socialized as female.
socialized as female, and surgical intervention to make you look more female. Mm-hmm. And then when you were older, you chose to transition to male.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but like as time has gone by, I've always been pansexual, but I didn't know it. You know what I mean? I think I had a lot of like internalized homophobia and then toxic masculinity and things like that. Like in high school, I was dating guys, but I call myself a lesbian, so I was like, what?
Okay. Were you just really butch or something, like, or domineering, or what's going on?
I was very
Okay.
oh yeah, very butch, very tomboy, very butch. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean people at school like thought I was in the ROTC.
Okay. All right.
You're like, I play a violin.
I know that people in the ROTC play a violin, the viola, and all the other instruments too, but I guess the way I carried myself, I played the violin in the mariachi class, and then and in orchestra I played the viola. So so I played both ends of the spectrum, like soft and like high pitch and then low, and just like
I love violas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it feels resonant because that's like I felt like I've always had a duality in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you? This is a very sensitive question, but did you ever go through like any kind of therapy or even group therapy among like intersex people who've been through this before?
So I actually was a part of this after school, high school, teen LGBTQ thing, and I had a friend there, that was also a part of that thing too, and we found out later, like 10 years later, that we were both intersex.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like. In regards to therapy, yeah, since 18, I've had therapy,
Okay.
Both talk therapy and also.
And that's when you found out that
antidepressants
you
as well.
were intersex when you
Yeah,
were 18.
when I was 18, yeah, yeah.
So you were just like, I gotta talk about this with somebody, or
Yeah. That's and everyone had no idea what the hell they're talking about, and
even the doctors that you talked to.
even the doctors, the
Yeah.
psychologists, psychiatrists. Intersex is like one paragraph in
Right.
like their med school books,
Right.
so they're not versed in it. They're told that we're rarities and uncommon, when in reality we're like about 2% of the population.
Oh,
so
really?
it's about as common as I think twins, if that's the rate. So
I think that's more common than redheads.
oh wow,
Redheads is like 1%.
yeah, there you go, there you go.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I think from there, let's see, so and it was really weird growing up in Houston because I worked for different oil and gas firms and the good old boys and things like that, and just to live as female and then transition to male, especially for one oil and gas company.
And this is a long career that you had.
No, this is it was long. Yeah, it was like one of the longest careers I've had. But to be able to transition on the job and like everyone was
Yeah.
okay with it, and
They were.
they were
Great.
okay with it, and
Great.
but it was really weird because a lot of these people are conservative, but like once you start having conversations with these people, like hey, I did a pop-up surprise 101 about me with the people I was working with.
Be careful about the table.
Oh, sorry. The people I was working with, and they're like, "Oh, are you gay?" I'm like, "Yes." And then I was like, "No, I'm actually trans."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, they didn't
Yeah.
understand that." But
This-
just
and
having
this
those
was at
conversations.
work?
This was at work.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I did that because I
And
wanted
the-
to educate the
The
people.
oil and gas industry, that's just about the most like masculine or whatever thing you can
It's
do.
the most toxic masculine
Yeah.
culture you can be a part
Right.
of.
Right.
I mean, one step away from the military, essentially where I
Yeah.
was working at.
Yeah.
And that's when you were like, I'm trans.
I was like, I'm trans, like letting y'all know I'm trans, and pretty much out of that, I've been able to like be in different communities and things like that, and
Yeah.
and even with the intersex community, me and my friend ended up, founding like a little organization, and it provides educational and advocacy to intersex people, but also people who aren't born intersex as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know nothing about intersex organizations. Is this like political advocacy, like lobbying about intersex issues? Is this like peer support or socializing?
Right. Well, the organization is the Houston Intersex Society, and it's under the umbrella of TFA, which is a 501c3. So,
And what is TFA?
the Trans Foundation of America.
Okay.
That's here in Houston, and
Okay.
and
Do they have like 501c3 status, and then it's kind of an umbrella?
it's under that.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it when organizations do that.
Yeah.
Because then you don't have to go through all the government stuff, and they can take care of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we started the organization as peer support to invite people to come out to the center, to have meetings.
Right. Because it seems like even more so than trans people, sometimes intersex people are very isolated. There's just a lot of secrecy around them.
there is a
Yeah.
lot of secrecy. All right.
Yeah.
Speak into that. Yes.
Yeah.
There is. I mean, a lot of people in Houston have come out to me that they're intersex, but they confide in me, so I don't share that. They're like, "Oh, I'm just trans. I'm not this intersex stuff. I'm just trans," which is very unfortunate, and that's why a lot of change hasn't been happening. But pretty much this does education now, because people wouldn't show up because they're too scared to show up to the meetings. A movie and pizza night. Who can say no to that?
Yeah,
we had to
sure.
beg people to come out, and people wouldn't come out, and we just changed to education. So we've educated at med schools, law schools,
Right.
anywhere anyone wants to listen to us, really. Churches.
How do you lobby to get into those spaces?
You just ask. You just look them up online. Email somebody or call somebody, or if you have a network, which we have an extensive network now, we just call people up.
That's that's really interesting that you know people who are intersex or they've confided in you, but they only want to be known as trans.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why is that, do you think?
Shame and fear.
Okay.
I think shame and fear because...
So it's beyond the trans thing, though.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. People would rather be trans because, there's basically, like, in medicine, it's established, what to do for trans people, which is patient-centered care, which, I mean, I think for anyone, intersex or not, patient-centered care is the way to have it. Like, I want this surgery, or I don't want this surgery, I want this medication, or I don't.
Okay. So with being intersex, there's still kind of the lingering effects of like non-consensual medical intervention.
Yeah, that's relevant for some, but also there's at least 30 known reported types of intersex conditions, and which are all variable within themselves.
Sure.
So it's complicated.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Trans is easy to explain.
It's very difficult to explain because it's amazing how much diversity there is among humans. I mean, gender-wise, but then also within how our genes express themselves. Basically, what our genetics are and how they express themselves. Yeah. I think a lot of people don't know this.
Yeah, I really don't. I mean, we're not taught anything in the schools.
Yeah.
And they don't want us to know.
Right.
Or tell our children.
Right. Because they keep people to this binary.
Yeah.
Right. They made you female or looking more female at some point. Yeah. By the way, when you started taking, I guess, male hormones, testosterone, did you feel different? Like, how did that feel to you?
I absolutely felt different. I felt like everything felt right in the world. Like, everything made sense. Like, I don't know.
Before that, were you on more of a...
just
pills?
straight up estrogen.
Okay.
Or estradiol, I think it was. It was estradiol. And then when I didn't have enough money to even afford that, I would have no hormones. That means I would have no hormones. I would be hormoneless,
Right.
So like what they do with older people, they take out their ovaries, some of them, and things like that. So it has a negative impact on the quality of life that you live.
I've actually been through that myself because of poverty, right? So I don't have organs that produce endogenous hormones. And then going through poverty, I couldn't afford healthcare or hormones. So I know what that feels like, and it is awful. It is awful. Like, all kinds of cognitive stuff goes on. Yeah, it's terrible.
It's a living hell.
Yeah, it really is. When I finally got, that's actually why I took a break in Boston, because I got some good healthcare there and some hormones, and then I took it, and I was like, okay, now I'm starting to feel better. I'm on that road, so yeah. Poverty is a thing.
Oh yeah,
it really is.
Yeah,
it really is. But after I started taking testosterone, I reconnected with my body.
Wonderful.
There was a lot of shame and stigma. In general, but then being Mormon and Mexican or even ex-Mormon at that time.
So be careful about the table.
Oh, sorry about that. Or even being an ex-Mormon at the time, it was very. I was very, I guess, had a lot of shame about my own body because,
from Mormonism,
the
teachings,
but also from the surgery, like thinking back as a child, like my body was so freakish and so undesirable that it needed to be altered to be acceptable, by men or doctors or nurses, that would probably run a vibrator on my genitals because they have to test the efficiency of the nerves and the organs.
God.
So.
That sounds just awful. I mean, that sounds like assault.
It is. It really is. And these surgeries, there should be no statute of limitations on these surgeries at all.
What do you mean by that? I don't know.
A statute of limitations means it's a certain. So, like in Texas, you have 2 years to file a lawsuit against someone, and if it's beyond that time, you can't sue them in court. You can take them to court. You can basically take them to court and sue them for damages.
Okay, so we took a little break there, and we're back. And during the break, I was wondering if maybe y'all could talk about your identities as being pan and or poly. I haven't talked about that too much in this project.
I guess I've been pansexual since I've been 18, one way or another.
What era was that? By the way, I can't tell how old you are. I have no idea.
Yeah, right. It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
All right. That was probably 2000, early 2000s, late 1990s or something.
Okay.
Like that. Yeah,
All right.
something like that.
Okay.
Something like that.
All right.
Yeah. I consider myself a lesbian, but I was, having sex with men, and
Yes. I bet they love that.
Since I was sterilized, I couldn't, produce any children, but then I couldn't, make any children either.
Yeah. I gotta say, I was also like a lesbian, a dyke or whatever, and I did have little boyfriends, and they were usually gay.
And they were gay. Yeah, they were gay. Yeah,
totally. And they were like kind of femmy,
My prom date was gay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, but pretty much, yeah. And then I tried to date women, and then I dated non-binary people, and then I was like,
were they identifying as non-binary?
Yeah,
Okay.
identify as non-binary.
Not like genderqueer or anything like that.
No,
Okay.
just non-binary, and then I did like a post on Facebook like, hey, if you have an interest in me, please let me know. Now is the time to let me know, and then he responds. I'm like, oh, cool, thank you. And he's like, I sent you. I think he sent me a message on Instagram saying like, we matched on Facebook dating.
Oh, you went through the dating app on there.
On
okay.
Facebook, yeah.
I've met other people who met that way too.
Yeah. Well, I deleted the app.
Okay.
So we had moved on to Instagram because he had followed me on Instagram at this point.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So you were chasing a little bit there.
And I was like, hey,
I find non-binary people very attractive as well.
It's about getting to know the person, and that's what it really it boiled down to. Just like breaking down toxic masculinity, and then like internalized homophobia, and like it's about the person, how they make me feel, and and how I feel about them, and
Sure.
And we went on a date. And we both cried at the Breakfast Club. We had a breakfast there. I guess April 26th, right? April 26th, about maybe 2021, so like 2 years ago.
Almost 2
years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would have thought you guys have been together for like a long time.
Yeah.
Just
It
the
feels
way.
like,
Yeah.
you're but in a good way.
Yeah.
You see all these gray hairs? No, I'm just playing.
Because you're very comfortable with each other.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Although your silver is very nice, I must say.
I know.
It's really shot through there. I'm not gonna get that because I have light hair. I just have white coming in, but I really like that. Yeah.
I've had gray hair since 12. So
Okay.
But not this much. Not this much.
Your ancestors, yo.
Yeah. There it is. And I thought about poly and stuff like that. I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the bandwidth of any of that stuff.
It requires a lot of communication. Yeah.
I'm lazy,
So
sometimes.
if you were to define pansexual for yourself, what would you define that as?
I would say being attracted to somebody. I don't know. Yeah.
So gender and sex and all that stuff doesn't matter. Just a person.
Gender, like in my personal thing is like, it's the gender binary. I call it the gender binary myth because like, like with white supremacy that happened in this country, like it was about who was black, who was white, who was Mr. Smith, who was Mrs. Smith, proprietor and property, and it comes down to your body or your sex, to having a definitive sex, right? Whatever that's supposed to mean, and and we sexualize children and infants and babies while they're still in the womb, and that needs to change in our society.
Instead of them just expressing themselves, they're kind of tracked.
Wait and see.
That wait and see, totally, yeah.
Yeah, so like the gender, like I guess construct that we believe in, it really impacts intersex people in a negative way.
Yeah, it really is a construct. Yeah.
I mean,
totally.
If I had it my way, I would get rid of the gender box and sex box because it has no, your blood type has more relevance than that.
Yeah. I always wonder why, like, various forms have that on ID, or race too. It's like, why does anybody need to put that on a weird form? It's so strange. Yeah.
But
I know some states are changing that, but some are definitely not.
As a administrative assistant, I would just like to say, I would like to just expand it. Like not get rid of it, because we gotta categorize things, guys. We gotta file them somewhere. No, yes, no.
Well,
ish.
I think a lot of activists are going for like an X on things.
Yeah, that's what I'm. Yeah.
And I love that idea. I love that for my trans siblings and everything. But in Germany, that's backfired.
Oh, has it?
Yeah.
Talk about it, because I don't know.
The third sex option is actually scared parents into pushing them into surgeries. It's making them. It's fearful. We don't want a child with the X or something else.
Into surgeries of what?
To force intersex surgeries. So basically sterilization. I mean, the negative consequences of these surgeries are some of these consequences are like osteopenia, osteoporosis, sexual dysfunction, PTSD.
And you're talking about on intersex kids.
On intersex kids that have these forced genital surgeries and other surgeries.
Right.
And then you have to be on synthetic hormones for the rest of your life. I've had if they had left me alone, I would have been fine. And I would have been able to have. I mean, we don't think about it unless a lot of times in our society we don't think about others until it happens to us. But the quality of life can't be emphasized enough that once you take out your hormone producing organs and you don't replace it with whatever you feel is right for your body, it's a living hell if you don't have the right hormones in you.
Right. Yeah, we just talked about that. How it can feel so bad. Yeah, it can definitely have. Besides it feeling bad, it can have like structural problems and totally. So how about you, with pan and poly? How would you define it for yourself first?
I would define being pansexual as someone who is sexually attracted to all types of bodies. Unfortunately, though, I gotta say, cisgender men, like, I'm just not attracted to cisgender men. That's just my preferences, but that's like a no. I'm good.
Are you talking like culturally who they are, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just, just the whole code,
Yes. I actually see that a lot online. Like people say that they're pansexual, and then the tagline is "No straight men" or "No cisgendered men."
Yes,
always.
Yeah, like come in spicy or something different.
Yeah, that's true. Also,
do some exploring.
Also, sometimes cisgendered straight men can be very just annoying. Online, just they. You say no, and then they're like, but, it's like, no, that's it. Block.
Yeah, they don't, it's hard, but and then I used to practice polyamory with my ex-husband, and it was very difficult. We actually went back and forth between being poly and open.
What does being poly versus open mean?
Poly means like you're getting to know another person outside of your marriage. And sometimes y'all are both getting to know that one person.
Okay.
And then for being open, it was more like you fuck who you want and I'll fuck who I want.
So free for all.
Yeah. Okay. And then sometimes we'll have threesomes or foursomes or whatever.
Okay.
And so, but it didn't work out for us. We are no longer married, and that's okay. That's a whole other story, but I mean, it was fun while it lasted, but definitely, probably, most likely would not practice polyamory.
Okay. So it's not really part of you anymore.
No, it's not really part of me anymore.
For some people, it is a lifestyle choice. And they have basically marriages that are kind of like three people. Or two couples. So there's all kinds of permutations. It does take a tremendous amount of work on yourselves about jealousy and that sort of thing, and time, a lot of communication. It's definitely not for everybody.
Yeah. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's for sure. Yeah. So we also off camera we were talking a little bit about like the work you do in communities, the activism and that sort of thing. And I was wondering if you could talk about that a bit.
So, so I advocate for the intersex community and the trans community, but also for I'm also a criminal legal advocate. So people who have been impacted by the criminal justice system or immigration here in Texas, and
Could you speak up? A little?
Oh, for sure. So I guess the to boil it down to my I guess my two beliefs is like I don't believe in policing bodies and I don't believe in policing people. So.
Okay. Are you a prison abolitionist? Do you believe in getting rid of that system?
I believe in liberation, so yes.
Okay.
Yes. That, there were different ways of government before, Europeans came here and things were different. And things are different everywhere in the country, but in the world too, right? But there's a different way to have society. Instead of punishing people, we should help people.
Yeah. So, how do you do that through your advocacy work? What are you going for?
Right. Pretty much advocating for policies or bills that invest in communities and not in policing.
Okay.
In
Some people call that the refund community, or
refund.
yeah.
Oh, really?
Instead of the defund the police, let's refund the community.
Oh, yeah. I haven't heard that.
Wow,
Yeah.
I haven't heard that either.
I can also think of that in
it's just
American negative connotation. Of
it's
like,
just a what do they call that? Online, how they have a tag or whatever.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Anyway.
But even more so, like me and my friend Kuma, who I met through that after school LGBTQ group, high school group, as part of our independent work and 2017, we were able to file a bill, an intersex protection bill through the then state senator Silva Garcia.
Okay.
And it was SB 1342. It was basically for kids that are in the foster care system, intersex kids, to basically to defund the foster care system. Basically cut that funding so that once the government stops paying for these surgeries, then the general population will also stop because they're really expensive. So they're funded by taxpayer dollars.
Are a lot of intersex kids funneled into the state system? The foster care and
I really don't know. I don't have I don't have the numbers for
Okay.
that. But with policy, it's not about creating a blanket ban because bans don't work. Small specific things do work.
Okay.
And this is not just because I say that I feel like this is the right thing to do. I mean, we are the data. If all of the negative side effects of these surgeries I'm feeling and other intersex people are as well, and this comes at the expense of taxpayers, it's a waste of money.
Okay.
That can be used for other things.
Yeah. So you're specifically talking about intersex minors who are within the state system.
Yeah.
They're wards of the state or something like
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
And that you don't want the state to come in and choose to do surgery on them without their consent.
Without their consent.
Yeah.
And the question is, what age should kids be to choose, any kind of genital surgeries?
Right.
And the answer is, it's like, what's your favorite food? It's highly variable. It's highly variable.
Right.
Everyone has
Right.
maturity levels, different kinds of maturity levels.
Right.
And even then, people understand sex and gender as they do, but I didn't figure this stuff until later about my gender until I was 30. So,
And also, you weren't given that information when you were young.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what me and Kuma did as part of our independent work with Silva Garcia again, but with the U.S. House. She filed her bill, filed her bill.
Who is Sylvia Garcia?
Silva Garcia is a representative. Silva Garcia is a representative for East Houston.
Okay,
And,
great.
And she filed a bill, H.R. 5730. Which is the same kind of mechanism that we had in Texas, which is basically defunding these surgeries because they're unnecessary.
Yeah.
but at least presenting to the child that there's an option of no surgery.
That's really good precedent. I like what you said about focusing on something very small and specific. Yeah, that's really great.
Because once they see the data for themselves after a couple of years, these surgeries have stopped. they'll see how much money they save. Which from what I understand, when COVID was really bad, a lot of these surgeries were paused already. So there is data
Interesting.
there. But
Interesting.
I think the hardest part for organizers though is that since a lot of us don't work in medicine, we don't have access to that data except for ourselves, which we do collect as part of studies. And my story's been part of a Human Rights Watch and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's let's get back to that in a second. So the data that you're using is financial data, but then there's also, I'm thinking, if you're going to talk about like quality of life of these minors, is there like psychological testing throughout, or talking about, you know, how they feel, basically?
There have been a few qualitative surveys done one by one intersex doctor. But to your point, I think what needs to be done is that if every intersex person in the States could take the ACEs test, it's the Adverse Childhood Experiences test, and maybe there needs to be an addition to that test to say like, were surgeries or any kind of surgeries forced upon you, just leave it at that, or any surgeries, because there's other surgeries that are not genital that are probably equally are just as bad, if not, or different. But to come with that, to get everyone's scores and to show everybody, like, we're telling you that, you know, a lot of us have PTSD and things like this, that this needs to be addressed.
Right.
I mean, that the pros and cons, the cons outweigh the pros. You know? There's different kinds of angles that you can look at this. So you were mentioning, you just mentioned the Human Rights Watch.
Human Rights Watch.
They did a report.
Can you talk about that?
Human Rights Watch did a report back in 2017, in July 17, that was released. It was basically talking about the quality of life for intersex people. Like,
okay. Is that an international organization, or is that national?
It's under the United Nations, so it's the entire globe. Okay,
great,
you know?
Great.
Yeah, and that was released and it's been shared, but you know, the surgeries are still happening. So that data's out there, that information's out there, those journals are out there. So I'm trying to buy books and submit them to the library of the Texas legislature so that they'll have them there.
So this sounds like a massive research project.
It is, and it's pretty much just been me and Kuma.
Okay.
And whatever friends are around to help us at the time.
I mean the Human Rights Watch one.
Oh yeah, and he was also on that one as well. Yeah.
Who is there any? How long has that been going on? That particular research, do you know?
I think it was done over a year. I don't know what time frame.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But just 1 year.
Yeah. Just 1 year.
It seems like that would be a really big effort.
An annual thing to be produced. But
and also if it's worldwide, and
I think the only negative mark I have against that is that I was like, please use my real name, and they gave me a pseudonym. They put Mark on there. So if you're watching that, looking at the report, I'm Mark on there.
Okay. Yeah. Wow, that's interesting that they anonymized you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.